Lockdown's been tough, hasn't it? That's why I wanted to share a bit of a story with you that might make things a little bit easier for you. See, as soon as I found out COVID was a thing, I started taking Berocca as a bit of a multivitamin, a bit of an immune system booster, just a way to stay fit and healthy with a virus going around. And the thing about Berocca is, I just can't get over what it does to your piss. I swear, after you take a Berocca, the next couple of times you go to the toilet, you just leave this bright neon yellow pool stewing at the bottom of the bowl. And even though time doesn't really mean anything in lockdown, the thing that really motivates me to get out of bed in the morning is to take that first bright yellow Berocca piss of the day. And for a while, that was enough. But then we started getting more cases here, things started getting more serious, so I thought I better do a little bit more. So I started taking some Armour Force. And whilst that didn't make my pee any yellower, I noticed it gave it a lot more body and volume, as well as a heady, pungent aroma. It was really quite something. And then, as lockdown continued, I thought, well, I'm not really going outside all that often, that I need to do something about that for my skin, get a bit more vitamin D in me. So I started taking some vitamin D pills. And let me tell you, when this is all finally over, I am going to have the best tan of anyone. It's going to be really something else. But it had a bit of another side effect. You see, now when I go to the toilet, it's not just bright yellow. It's actually glowing. And that was good for a while. If I got up in the middle of the night and went to the toilet, I then had this comforting, warming glow emanating from underneath the lid that could help guide me back to bed. And it was a really nice novelty. But as lockdown dragged on, and I added some omega-3 fish oil and some St. John's wort into my daily regimen of vitamins to take, it started getting a bit brighter, a bit more intense, to the point where I couldn't stare directly at my stream whilst I was pissing, or I would just burn the arc into my cornea and have this big black spot in my vision for the next couple of hours afterwards. That it was really something else. That wasn't too bad, but as I realized, with lockdown going on for so long, I was really putting my kidneys through the ringer. That I noticed it finally when I went to the toilet one time, and it was as if my penis had been struck by the anvil of the gods. That instead of a nice, steady, regular stream, that I just sputtered out this buckshot, these tiny little bright white pellets that bounced all around the bowl and finally came to rest in the water at the bottom. What it turns out is because I've been putting so many extra vitamins and minerals into my system, it was my kidneys that had to deal with them. They weren't really keeping up with the things too well. And then I had all these tiny kidney stones that I was now passing out of me. Next time you go for a pee, I'd like you to imagine that your urethra is just absolutely lined, filled up with these tiny little deposits. So small that you can pass them out without a problem, but big enough that if you pressed your hand down there, you'd be able to feel them through the skin. And from there, as you're peeing, I would like you to imagine that that specific tiny little orifice is distending and retracting in a quick motion as you push out all of these tiny little balled up concentrations of mineral, that pushing them out so fast that you can hear this audible rippling sound as each one leaves your body. And then I'd like you to think about how they all bounce around in the bowl there, moving about, going everywhere as they finally come to rest. But you can think about it, but I couldn't stare at it because each one was glowing this bright white, like a burning bit of phosphorus. As I tried to look at them, it was like I was pissing out a disco ball, going all over the place, all these sources of light. It was too hard to keep track of. I just had to put my hand in front of my eyes as I pissed and hope for the best. You see, a lot of people, once that happened to them, they'd probably scale things back a bit, try taking other stuff, look at other ways of getting things in their body. But I still feel like I made the right decision in staying steadfast in my supplement regimen, and if anything, adding more. That after this happened, I added some vitamin B12, some calcium, and what happened after that was really something else. There was another time when I went to pee, And my stream, you couldn't really describe it as a stream anymore because it ended up being more solid than liquid. That it started to take on the same sort of principles as kinetic sand. And it was even just as satisfying to watch it ooze out of me and collect up and snap off. Or at least it would have been if I wasn't at the point where I was pretty much pissing flashbangs and I had to close my eyes because it was casting such bright, stark light that it was causing these heavy contrasted shadows on the wall behind me. But there was an upside. You see, my girlfriend's been working from home and she's got her laptop set up in the lounge room, right in view of the toilet door. And usually, when she was on a conference call, I'd have to pee on the side of the bowl so the other people that were on the call with her didn't have to hear the crackle and hiss of a liquid piss. But now, I can just lean over the toilet and squeeze out these spiraling, silent slugs, and they don't have to worry about a sound. That I was just trying to stay healthy in a COVID-19 pandemic, and I figured out how to pee silently. I've ascended beyond man. It was really something else. But there was a time when I went into the bathroom and I saw a couple of curved cylinders edged up on the edge of the toilet that were unflushed. Had long since lost their incandescent potential. And I went up to them and I scooped one up in my fingers so I could feel its grain and its texture. And I looked at it and I thought to myself, this is the product of my weak and inefficient body. That I'm trying to put all of these minerals, all these immune system boosters into my body to stay healthy, and it's just passing them right through. That we're in a fucking pandemic, and I would just flush these away. I looked at them and I thought to myself, Bear Grylls does it. Why don't I? And with a quick and a crunch, I reintroduced those minerals back into my system. I thought maybe by doing this, that humans have a bit more of a ruminant style quality. That sure, we take all these multivitamins and we just pee them out the first time, but perhaps that's just step one. And if we take them again, that they become much more easier for our body to synthesize. So now, instead of just flushing all of this solid piss down the toilet, I have a jar that I keep to the side, and I'll go into that instead. And then next to that jar, I have a tea towel that I throw over the top so I can actually see what I'm doing and not have to deal with this shining white light in my face when I'm trying to wash my hands afterwards. And I've saved up that jar, and now, in the morning, I'll make myself some breakfast. I'll get the jar, I'll sprinkle a little bit on top, I'll take my strict and growing complex regimen of supplements, and I've been pretty good. Except, you see, my girlfriend, she hasn't been taking things anywhere near as seriously as me. And she got sick. Wasn't COVID. There's still the regular bugs going around. So I nursed her back to health, and I thought, how selfish have I been? That my body is making this perfect multivitamin, and I'm keeping it all to myself. So now, I make my girlfriend's breakfast as well. I sprinkle a little bit of my jar on top of hers. She either hasn't noticed or she hasn't said anything, but she hasn't been sick since. So, at the very least, lockdown seems to be dragging on. We don't know what's going to happen, how long we're going to be living like this for, but at least I know that me and my girlfriend, we're going to be fine.